Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring. Turns out laser printing is quite noisy, but also I absolutely love it. Everything is printed in such crisp clarity, you can't tell one copy from another. You can print, as many copies of something as you want, so you can pass it to all your friends. That's why I've only printed one. But Hewlett-Packard in 1996 was so keen for you to print multiple copies of the same document that they invented something to encourage you to do so. And that thing was a fish called Mopey.
I'm here with some of the HP engineers who worked on the new LaserJet.
This guy looks like he's being held hostage, but don't worry, he's not.
5SI Mopier. It prints multiple originals, collates, staples. It does everything but mow the lawn. Mow the lawn. Mow the lawn. Block diagram. Like a belt drive would be better. So we have to print while we're mowing.
This is an advert dreamt up by Goodby, Silverstein and Partners for HP in 1996. HP had just launched a new range of printers for the home and office, and this set of commercials tried to have a laugh at engineers whilst trying to make the product more endearing to the everyday user. Home users could buy a DeskJet 693C, for example, whilst a demanding business might want the LaserJet 5SI Mopier, or Mopier if you're American. The Mopier commercials themselves proved slightly controversial, with the equipment cost analysis specialists ProSource complaining about HP trying to insinuate that using their Mopier to print multiple copies of a document improves both quality and cost efficiency over a photocopier. The ad is based on imaginative assumptions and is inaccurate. You see, the idea of a Mopier printer is you can send one print job to it over a LAN. The printer would then store this print job on an internal hard drive and then could be directed to print as many copies as you wanted, without clogging up the network by sending the same document to print 1,000 times, for example, which back then would slow down not only the network, but also your computer, as well as meaning other print jobs could get caught up in the batch. The 5SI Mopier then was designed to remove the photocopier from the equation. Normally you'd print one document and then go and photocopy X number of it. So, printing from Mopier was easier for the user, apparently cheaper, and higher quality according to HP, who obviously had a vested interest because if you were using their Mopier printer, you were using up more HP toner. So, HP were keen to encourage office workers to use this functionality as much as possible. And that's where Mopey Fish comes in.
If it isn't Tamagotchi, her new favorite pet.
Yes!
So what's that make me, fish sticks?
Oh, are you hungry?
Tamagotchi had also burst onto the scene in 1996, and the craze was quickly making its way from Japan over to the West. As something of a double whammy, we also had PF Magic's Balls and Cats, or 3D Pets by Paris Technographics, and even Mindscape's Creatures. But these programs aren't really suitable for an office. What is suitable, of course, is a screensaver. Previous fish tank simulating screensavers existed already, but most of these were crappy, brainless affairs splashed with shareware messages. Commercial programs also existed, but these were pricey and few and far between. Mopey Fish was different. It wasn't a mindless animation of fish swimming by, but importantly it was also free and widely available. Mopey Fish was part of a carefully orchestrated viral marketing campaign by HP that would see it appearing in magazines, on cover discs and across the internet, which of course meant that millions of PC users quickly replaced their previous screensavers with Mopey. To assist in their global fish domination, HP had tasked the Global Beach Group to create their fishy friend. Established in 1993, Global Beach's business model was based around creating interactive multimedia programs for corporates such as Jaguar, Porsche, and now in October 1997, HP. Now, corporate companies usually hire expensive consultancies to make their product look as perfect as possible, but with Squarespace, that doesn't need to be the case at all. Let's say you run a goldfish shop. Well, you can just find a website template that looks the part, make a few tweaks in the WYSIWYG editor, and literally within minutes you can start selling aquarium wares online. With their marketing tools, you can even set up a social feed or regular newsletter for those fishy fiends right from the dashboard. Click the link below to get cracking and use the code NOSTALGIANERD for 10% off your first site purchase or custom domain. Okay, let's install it and check out this little flappy fella. I'm running it on the Windows 98 and this is version 1.9. In version 1.9a they went for a darker theme, but in any case the installation is pretty painless. There we go, so now via the control panel we can simply select Mopey Fish and we're good to go. Mopey opens into a black void, happily swimming about. At the top we can name our little orange friend. By clicking on the shell, we can bring up a host of options and information. Warning: your Mopey Fish is not a toy. It is a pet fish that has been developed to mimic the behaviour of a real parrotfish. It has taken many hours of man-hours to build the artificial brain that will ensure your fish behaves just like our two real fish, Spike and Reef, that we use to model the Mopey Fish on. It goes on to tell us that the nerdfish will remember how we treat him and develop a unique personality, and that we can interact by clicking, rapidly clicking, or by dispensing food. And indeed we can. If I repeatedly click nerdfish, for example, he'll get stressed and start flying all over the place. He then becomes very timid about eating food or generally interacting at all. I feel a bit bad now. Poor nerdfish. If I leave him for a bit, he'll calm down, but if I treat him terribly for a while, he can remember it for several days. Clearly then, this isn't your typical screensaver. In fact, to exit we need to pull the plug down the bottom right. Although if you run this under Windows NT, then it will force close when you move the mouse, so you'll have to run the main program rather than use it as a screensaver. It's not great for an actual screensaver anyway, because these lines at the sides and the clickable buttons are permanent fixtures. At least in screensavers like Johnny Castaway, the island would move every 5 minutes. But at this point CRTs had come a long way and weren't likely to succumb to burnt-in imagery. But it's still looking a bit bland around here. It would be nice to have a plant, maybe an airline even. Well, that's where points come in, and really the underlying premise for this program. We start with 40 points, but to get a rock and plant we're going to need 800. Even more for these other desirable items. And there are two ways of getting them. The first is to use HP's MOPy utility to print multiple original printouts. That's what Mopey stands for, by the way. Every time we print multiple original copies of a document on our Mopey printer, we get 20 points. Nice. That means that we have to buy toner sooner, but on the flip side, we can get a nice rock and plant with just 38 prints. Woohoo! Plus, if we print in colour, we get double points. Oh yeah! The other way is just to wait. All these items will appear given enough time. I didn't have a Mopey printer in the 90s, and I suspect most other people didn't also. So that's what most of us did. Just waited. But lucky for us, Bill Griganti produced a hack called Free Mopey in 1998, which gives us all the points we need at the click of a button. Now we're talking. We've got a plant, we've got bubbles, we've even got a thermometer and the ability to increase or decrease the temperature, which could lead to the death of nerdfish if we're not too careful. Oh. It's easy enough to reset Mopey though, through the screensaver options. There you go, Writer's Reign. Although every time your fish dies, you also lose all your cool stuff. Let's give this guy a new name. Okay, once we've got 3,200 points, we can now get some special aphrodisiac fish food too by visiting hp.com/go/fish. You can see what they did there, and entering this private password. Nice. Okay, that's not good. Now, for whatever reason, archive.org wasn't able to crawl that URL back in the 90s, but in 2001, mopyfish.net appeared to replace it. But obviously we still can't enter that password. This, after all, is just a snapshot. All the underlying code and the back end is long gone. Huh. Did more than I thought it was going to. But lucky for us, Bill Griganti has us covered for that too, with the utility Kissfish. Simply run that and there we go. Now we can dispense aphrodisiac, which is a bit weird. But now rich fish will kiss the screen on demand. Lovely. The creation of mopyfish.net in 2001 is also the point at which version 1.9a was released, which actually dispenses with the affiliation with Hewlett-Packard. You see, on 1.9 we get lots of text about the benefits of mopeying, etc, etc, but with 1.9a, Mopey is now his own thing, a standalone program being pushed by Global Beach. Other than that, the fish itself is his old emotional self. It should be noted that rich fish will get upset, poorly, and sometimes even angry if we don't feed him on a regular basis. In fact, if we don't feed him for 3 weeks... oh. It's easy enough to reset Mopey though, through the screensaver options. There you go, Writer's Reign again. How can you tell if a fish is angry anyway? I mean, does he look angry? He's got about as much range as Arnold Schwarzenegger at the start of his career.
Let me be the judge of that.
I'd say he's angry. I mean, I'd be angry if I kept being resurrected this many times and renamed. Of course, if you wanted, you could also just set your system date back a week, feed the fish, and then he'd be fine anyway. There's no hidden complexity when it comes to the passing of time with this guy. There are also a few secret commands you can type. Drink me will make Nerd the Third twice as large, Eat me will make him twice as small, Downside up will invert the guy, Fish and Trip will change the colours, and MDK will... oh, for Christ's sake, would you stop dying already? Okay, let's try and treat Flapface the Fourth with a bit more kindness than the others. Maybe he'll fare better. It's actually quite interesting to watch him go about his duties, and really quite clever. The installation for Mopey fits on a single 3.5-inch floppy, clocking in at just 1,335 kilobytes. But if you extract each frame of animation from the DAT file, there's 661 different images. Compressing this lot down into a tiny program that acts like a fish was pretty impressive. It's also what made it quick to download and install. And it's for this combination of reasons that by the year 2000 it had been downloaded more than 10 million times, earning the Guinness World Record for the most downloaded cyberpet, and even apparently being Big Brother's virtual pet, as seen on the TV programme Big Brother. It's no wonder that it stuck in my mind so clearly, not because I saw Big Brother, just because it was a big phenomenon at the time. And it's why so many of us remember this little fish, designed to simply make us use the printer rather than the photocopier. Global Beach would go on to create virtual creatures which first and foremost included a pair of tarantulas to keep you company, although they also planned a scorpion, a seahorse, chameleon, frog, and several more. Unfortunately, the virtual pet craze was at its height in the 90s, and so many of these didn't make it to fruition. But at least we got Mopey Fish. Hey Flapface the Fourth, how you getting on in there? Oh. Until next time, I've been Nostalgia Nerd. Toodaloo.